What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. I'm Noah Strackbine, joined always by my man in the corner, producer Nick Belsky. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talker. Subscribe anywhere you get your podcast. The Pittsburgh Steelers, they had a very interesting name in the building the last 24 to 48 hours or so, and we're going to dive into just maybe a little bit of a hypothetical, a good hypothetical when it comes to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Meanwhile, Arthur Smith spoke today and heavily dove into the team's offense, the quarterback situation, Broderick Jones, and so on and so forth, and we will address all of that and our biggest takeaways from the offensive coordinator's press conference. Meanwhile, Brandon Aiyuk and an update there, and well, the numbers keep changing, so we're going to have to talk about it and where the Pittsburgh Steelers currently stand. We'll start with some big notes, but first, as we do every day, it's a nice one here. It's a nice one. Brother's in town. He's going to see Childish Gambino. Let me ask you this question. How you feeling, my friend? Do you know more than one Childish Gambino song?
Oh, that's a tough one. Probably not. Probably the one that comes to mind is Bonfire, if I'm thinking correctly. And outside of that one,
that's one.
Probably, is Made in America Childish Gambino's too? So yep. I might know two.
Yep, that was my one. And then Redbone.
Redbone.
That's
okay. I've heard of that one, but yeah, I'm not. Yeah, not going to be able to give you much more than that.
Yeah, no, I was trying all day, dude. I was like, oh yeah. At one point, he's like, you want to come? And I was like, oh, that would be sick. Yeah, I'll go see Childish Gambino. Tickets were like $200. I was like, tickets. If I'm paying $200 for a concert ticket, I have to enjoy the concert. You know, like there could be no like, oh, I'm just going to a concert. That's just not. And I just don't know if I could go to a Childish Gambino show and know more than two songs, and therefore, I don't know. I'm a big fan though. I mean, I much respect. I love the show Atlanta. So and Community, man. Shout out Childish Gambino and Community. All right, we'll dive into a couple of pretty rough news and notes to start the show, and then obviously we got to talk J.J. Watt at practice. But first, what do you got for us?
Yeah, obviously the second straight day of news and notes being continuously about injuries. The Steelers cut cornerback Anthony Averett after he suffered a hamstring injury in Saturday's preseason game. And also today they put Nate Herbig on injured reserve. So more bad news on the injury front for the Pittsburgh Steelers for the second consecutive day.
Yeah, it's a tough time. Nate Herbig, I kind of saw that one coming. I think we all did. That's a tough day for him. He was supposed to be the guy. I think it does open the door for a potential addition to the offensive line. I would guess that the Steelers add an offensive lineman right from the jump and then try to make sure Spencer Anderson is that guy. But like we've said more than once here, Spencer Anderson's capable. And for the next week and a half, you got to really dive into, is he good enough to be a center and play that backup role? I think we'll I think we'll find that out in the upcoming days. Anthony Averett is a massive blow, in my opinion. That's a rough loss. If that is as serious as the Pittsburgh Steelers are making it sound, that was a dude that in my eyes was the favorite to be the cornerback 3 right now. Just because Corey Trice, they like Corey Trice. They were hoping Corey Trice worked out. But Anthony Averett looked good. There hasn't been a moment where it's like, oh, okay, he struggled in a game. He struggled in training camp. No, he's looked pretty impressive the entire time. Once we got to Latrobe, and therefore he was the guy in my eyes to be a security blanket as that veteran backup at corner. I think where we stand today, the Pittsburgh Steelers have to go out and get somebody. They should be picking up the phone and calling, whether it's a Patrick Peterson or whoever's out there. I mean, Chandon Sullivan's still available, and I thought he played fine last year. Could play the outside and the inside, has that versatility. He could be a name, but the Steelers have to make a phone call. I don't think that they could wait anymore. Anthony Averett kind of solidified that one to me. On top of Kalen Barnes, who played well in the last preseason game or 2 preseason games ago, and Darius Rush still not really impressing. So tough time for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think a corner is on the way, if you ask me. It kind of just depends on what that name is and how long they're willing to wait before they go out and get somebody. I think Stephon Gilmore's signing with the Vikings should be a warning shot of, all right, let's get this done before we're waiting too long, and now we're here and we can't correct ourselves. Tough time. Got another one for you. I'll add to the list here of some news and notes. J.J. Watt shows up at the Pittsburgh Steelers facility yesterday, I want to say, something like that. He's at practice today. We're a little bit above practice, like literally just ended. So they'll be coming out as we're speaking this into existence. Was at practice today. Look at man, he looks big. He looks scary. I wonder if there's a world. I wonder if there's a world where the Pittsburgh Steelers and J.J. Watt find terms and he becomes an addition to this defense in 2024. Do you wonder the same thing? You think there's a possibility?
Yeah, of course, Bill Cowher was on the Pat McAfee show yesterday, throwing just fuel onto this fire, saying, "Oh well, he's still, as of a couple weeks ago, he's still at playing weight, so you never know what that could mean." It would be very intriguing to see J.J. Watt become a member of the Steelers. Obviously, this is something that has been talked about or at least speculated upon for years upon years. Whenever he went from Houston over to Arizona, whenever his contract was coming up with Arizona, even last year before his first year of retirement, people are saying, well, he might come out of retirement to go with the Steelers. And now it's probably the last shot. I mean, we've talked about it. We've talked about it a couple of times, right? The longer you go without playing, the harder it is to come back. I think this is probably the last chance this season to see JJ Watt come out of retirement. And if he does, you've mentioned it, and I agree. Texans, Steelers, probably nobody else.
That's it. Those are the two. There's no reason to go anywhere else. You're not going to go sign to. That's the thing. It starts messing with your legacy a little bit. You're learning new things. I think JJ wants to feel comfortable where he is. This is more of a fun thing. You know what I mean? It's I'm gonna pick up the sticks one more time and just see what I got left. It's not going to be for anybody. It's going to be for the Houston Texans. It's going to be for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I'm telling you, man. I mean, let me ask this question: how good do they have to be? How good do the Steelers have to be come week 8 for J.J. Watt to be like, you know what? This is happening.
I mean, the one thing that you got to figure out is the quarterback situation going to be good enough? But the Steelers, if they're 6-2, I could see J.J. Watt saying, you know what? At this point, let's get into it. If they're 500 going into week 8, knowing that back half of the schedule, I find it hard to believe that JJ is going to be like, well, squeaking into the playoffs, that seems like what I want to do instead of just enjoying my desk job at CBS.
Yeah, I agree. They have to be very, very good moving forward. There's no way that he's signing for a nobody. But that being said, I mean, hey, dude, the Pittsburgh Steelers, something happens. One thing happens. They're calling J.J. Watt. He's going to be a name to watch for sure. I thought it was fun. Was very surprised at how good he looks. Was like very surprised at how good J.J. Watt looks. All right, let's talk about Arthur Smith. We'll dive into things that are happening in his press conference. My biggest takeaways, I got to highlight Russell Wilson and Broderick Jones as the big two on top of where he currently stands with the preseason. And then obviously some Brandon Aiyuk updates because we're still following this train, even if we're pretty tired of it. But first, we got a word from our boys over at Game Time. Let's talk about Game Time. I could still taste the popcorn and the soda and smell the beer of my first Pittsburgh Steelers game. And yeah, the Jacksonville Jaguars might have won that day, but I will never forget how loud Heinz Field was and how rocking that stadium was on the North Shore. Game Time has this new feature called Game Time Picks that makes things like getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out all the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. I have an upcoming concert in Cleveland the day after the Pittsburgh Steelers play against the Browns, and instead of sitting there clicking on every single section, I'm just going to use Game Time Picks. Let's talk about why it's so great. Curation makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. On top of that, you get all-in pricing, which means that you get the total cost up front with no surprise fees at checkout. On top of that, you get seat views because nobody wants to buy some nosebleed seats for cheap and take a guess on whether you're staring at a pole or you just got the greatest deal in the entire venue. Plus, the lowest price guaranteed, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Game Time ticket coverage means that your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code ALLSTEELERS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code ALLSTEELERS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, low prices, guaranteed. Shout out to our boys over at Game Time. That ad stops early every single time. I think it's on me. I think it's my laptop. I don't know what's going on. Shout out to our boys over at Game Time. Let's talk about Arthur Smith's press conference today. Had 3 very interesting points to address, and I think 3 of them are very valid. And I was very excited that he dove into them, especially after a sloppy performance. So the biggest one is this, and it's the same thing that we tried to reiterate to everybody yesterday. This is the preseason, and he made it very known that the preseason is not about winning games. And while, yes, you want to score points, it's better that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going through these struggles today than they are in 3 weeks. And he made that very clear. This is 3 weeks that you now have to fix the issues that you are currently dealing with. And I think that's massive. Anybody who's sitting around saying, hey, we were going to be perfect from the jump, blah, 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 you should go back and watch. He used the word 4 or 5 times. The hype machine, hype bubble, or hype machine. Thank you. Hype machine. He said it 4 or 5 times. I mean, I think we need to make t-shirts with the nice mustache. You know what I'm saying? Hype machine. I kind of took it as he was kind of reminding everybody that last year the hype machine was real and the Steelers were real bad. So maybe, just maybe, this is a good opportunity for us to say, yeah, there are some issues, but it's not the end of the world. And I know that people are out here, oh, they're going to go 2-15. I mean, Stephen A. Smith already says it's over. This season's done. I don't even understand why we're still playing football games. It's early. It's so early. And I'm glad that he acknowledged that, yes, it's early. But on top of that, this is the time where you fix these things. It's not the time that you just complain about them. And that's exactly where the Pittsburgh Steelers should be. Number 2 is Broderick Jones. He spoke about how he did let some guys onto the inside, but also that if guys are healthy enough, they're going to play. And that's where it stands. And to be honest with you, yeah, that's a big takeaway, but I disagree. And I strongly disagree. If I'm the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I've gone back and I've watched that game now since Saturday, Broderick does not extend his right arm one time in that entire game. Does not fully extend that arm once. And if he is that hurt, if it is that much of an issue right now, you gotta shut him down. You have 3 weeks. He should not be practicing or playing in those 3 weeks. Send him out the final week before the regular season. If you got to deal with some hiccups in week 1, I get it. It's better than dealing with long-term hiccups because this guy is never healthy. It's just an issue of mine. In my opinion, I get what Arthur Smith is saying, that you have to work with the guys that you have, and if they're cleared, they're going to play. I don't agree. I mean, if Russell Wilson's getting shut down by a calf injury for the entire summer and he continues to say, I'm good to go, man, I'm good to go, they're just playing it cautious. Do the same with your right tackle, because that's going to lead to bigger issues. You have a Justin Fields. You don't have another Broderick Jones. And people are tired of Dan Moore, so you really don't have another Broderick Jones. And then the final one is he addressed Russ and the things that Russell Wilson did well, but he also made it very clear that the Pittsburgh Steelers offense has a lot of things that they would like to do that maybe Russ can't do right now. And he was protecting Russ schematically. And he said that 4 or 5 times. Yeah, you know, you're not going to call certain things schematically because you're trying to keep Russ safe in those situations. That better change by week 1. If Russ is not able to run this offense completely by week 1, I don't care if he's the starting quarterback or not. He should not be on that field. And I think it's as simple as that. Arthur Smith's offense is going to be the reason that the Pittsburgh Steelers succeed this season, not Russell Wilson. And because of that, if Russell can't run Arthur Smith's offense to completion, Justin Fields has to be able to, because you can't have a half-hearted offense out there and expect things to go well. Your quarterback has to be able to do everything. And I think a healthy Russ still could do a lot of these things, but obviously Arthur Smith does not think those things right now. And if that's the truth, if that's where we currently stand, I'm sorry, but you gotta shut Russ down. Russ can't be your starter if he's not healthy enough to run read options and be on the move and kind of adjust the way that Arthur Smith wants his quarterbacks to adjust. In my eyes, Russ has got to be either 100% ready to go, capable of running this offense, and the offense has enough trust in his health to make it happen entirely, or Justin Fields has to be the guy, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, because, I mean, Justin could run this offense, and The offense, again, is going to be the reason. The play calling, the schematics, the execution of those schematics are going to be the reason that the Steelers succeed this season. It's not going to be Russell Wilson being a safer option or not throwing in completions. The way I look at it is Russ has to be the guy, but Russ is probably the guy, but he has to be healthy if the Steelers are going to make him the guy.
Yeah, my question that comes up with that is going into week 1 against Atlanta, how close to 100% does Russ have to be in your eyes for him to be able to run that full offense? Because Smith said it, like you mentioned, it wasn't just once, it wasn't just twice, and it wasn't just in one answer. He kept going back to the fact that, he commends Russell Wilson for going out there as long as he did, playing 21 snaps, playing into 5 drives, because he didn't have to go out there. Well, yeah, he does, because it's a new team, it's a new offense, and honestly, he hasn't had that much work. Now, I understand that plays into what you saw on Saturday, but you got to get ready for week 1 at some point. So at what point do you say, hey, he's just not healthy enough to run this offense to its fullest power? Because as you mentioned, if you can't do that, you might get upset by the Atlanta Falcons in week 1. We talked about it yesterday. This is a team that is loading up on talent on the defensive side of the ball, and Kirk Cousins, along with a really solid Spotify playlist for his birthday, is a good quarterback as well. So, you can't start slow, and the Falcons provide a very, very tough challenge in week 1. You need Russ to be at 100%, and if he's not, you do have to open up that conversation.
What was your favorite song on that playlist?
Oh, you see, here's the problem, because me and Horwath are the same. Nick Horwath, who also works in the same company. I'm probably looking at all the small things in Blink 182 just because that is premium sing-along song. It always gets the juices going.
Yeah, I mean, the whole playlist was a banger. That one surprised me, but also didn't surprise me. Like that, because it's the generic song. It's the generic white guy song. It's the generic I'm going to Cole song. And that's Kirk Cousins.
That's
so
Kirk.
It was spot on. It was a phenomenal playlist. So shout out Kirk Cousins. I think this is the opportunity to see how close Russ is. I think you have to go out there against Detroit, and I don't think you throw the whole bag at him, because you don't want to throw the whole bag out there for the preseason no matter what. I mean, that's the biggest thing here is there's a lot of people, there's no touchdowns. There's no touchdowns. There's no touchdowns. Again, if the offense was unreal, and then week 1 you got smoked because all these issues were coming up, then there'd be a much louder crowd talking than this. I mean, Arthur Smith brought up a very good point, not to backtrack here, but Arthur Smith brought up a very good point that 2000, whatever the year was that Ryan Tannehill won comeback player of the year and A.J. Brown went off and, Arthur Smith made a name for himself as an offensive coordinator, the Tennessee Titans were garbage in the preseason, really bad. Then they came out in week 1 and scored 47 points. So if that's the case, that's okay. Touchdowns don't count until week 1 of the regular season. Now's how you figure out how to score those touchdowns. And just because you didn't score them on Saturday doesn't mean you're going to score them in Atlanta. That's exactly what it means. This is 3 weeks to figure it out, not 3 weeks to just complain and give up. When it comes to Russ and his health, this Saturday has got to be the test. Again, I don't think you toss everything out there, but you toss much more than you did. You push the limits a little bit. You put yourself in a situation where you see if Russ could do this, and you judge it from there, because you can't do it in practice. That's the biggest thing is you can run read options all day in practice. You can't tackle the quarterback. So who cares? That Russ could look as athletic as humanly possible against ghosts. Who cares? You want to put him out there against Detroit and see if he's capable of doing most of the things moving forward. But that would be my test for Russ is this weekend. Are you capable of doing more? If you're not, in my eyes, it's got to be Justin. Even if it's just Justin for the time being, he's got to be able to run the offense to as fully as humanly possible to this point where we currently stand.
Yeah, I mean, last week was not encouraging. I think that's the nicest way possible of saying that. You need to see some encouraging signs this weekend against Detroit, and it has to come from both quarterbacks, because I mean, I understand we're coming from a very low level and a low bar based on what we saw from Kenny Pickett and Mitch Trubisky, and I won't throw Mason Rudolph in that because he was pretty effective in the last 3 weeks of the season. But
I was gonna say, man, he was pretty good.
The bar is set pretty low with the other two. We just need to see a little bit of life from both of these quarterbacks this weekend to see the offense go in the right direction. And I think that's what they're going to have to do. And I think Arthur Smith knows that.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Last thing I want to talk about here, Brandon Aiyuk. Current update where we stand with him and the 49ers and the Pittsburgh Steelers and everything else happening currently. According to Sports Illustrated's Albert Breer, the Pittsburgh Steelers pushed Brandon Aiyuk back to the 49ers table. Why? Because they offered just under $28 million per season. Now, what I have been told is $28.5 million, but we will go off of the latest reports. And the latest reports are Albert Breer saying it's just under $28 million. I'll tell you this, if 28.5 gets you there, if 28.5 is what you're looking at, you pay the damn $28.5 million. Because what are we doing? What is the difference? It's at that point, you have become the 49ers. If you are the Pittsburgh Steelers, you have become we're not going to budge on $750,000 for our, whatever cap space that we have moving forward. Like, it's $28.5 million for a wide receiver. That's not unheard of. It's pretty good money, and it's reasonably priced in 2 years. Go pay him $28.5 million. If just under 28 isn't getting the job done, boost your offer. Don't boost it to 30, but boost it to 28.5. Get it to where it was. The way I look at it right now, if that's for real, if that's what happened, the Steelers got to do better. At the same time, it kind of gives you an indication of where they stand and maybe that they're not as intense in this battle and looking to get this done as much as maybe it seems that they are. Maybe they could look at it. Maybe we could start to look at it and say the Steelers want a wide receiver trade, obviously, but they have lines and they have limits of where they're going to go with this. For the first time, I think that's a stance here that I could say I support, because I'm all about getting a wide receiver, but it's good to see that the Pittsburgh Steelers no longer look like the desperate girl or the desperate guy trying to get this done no matter what. They are begging and pleading, and we will do anything that you need us to do. We love you. We'll never not love you. Come back to us. It's good to see them take a stance if this is real. That being said, be smart with that stance. If the difference is $750,000, give them the $750,000 a year. It's not going to break the bank. That's literally a Keandre Thomas. Do you even know who Keandre Thomas is?
I don't.
Exactly. But he's making $910,000 this season. So that's okay. You could give up $750,000 if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers. Just under 28 million. I mean, look at that. If that's what they're given, for one, it makes me question where the 49ers are in that situation, because how far off are they for this to be dragged out? But two, what's the number that the Steelers have to get to? I think you have to get there. I think you try to get there if it's reasonable, and then you move forward. Thoughts?
Yeah, this is the Steelers that we all know, right? Because when this all started, what was half the opposition? The Steelers don't pay wide receivers. Why would they pay this wide receiver? Why would they go out and trade for a wide receiver? It's a position that they've never done it. Well, obviously they've wanted to do it. They wanted to bring this guy in. But at the same time, Omar Khan's saying, all right, back to our roots a little bit. We're not going to overpay you here. Like, we have a line. And this is already the Steelers out of character, getting this deep into a drama for a player on another team. The fact that they are now starting to draw lines, especially at $750,000, if it is indeed what it was, maybe it doesn't make as much sense, but also it does sound like the Steelers to be like, no, we're not budging on this. And we're going to be a little stubborn and say, this is what we're offering you. We're not going to change it. So it would track with the Steelers organizational way of thinking. But at the same time, if it's $750,000 or $800,000, just make the deal. Clearly, this is the piece you need. Clearly, this is the piece that fills your biggest hole. And at the end of the day, I think you're going to get your money's worth with Brandon Aiyuk. And again, that's just me, but I think you're going to get that $800,000 back tenfold.
Yeah, and exactly. And I think the Steelers feel the same way. This is just a business, and this is how the NFL works, and they're always hard-nosed. Everybody's always way more hard-nosed than they need to be. And I understand. You're working with crazy negotiations. It's understand. But the wiggle room has to be there. Look at that. There's a part of me, this is 50-50, because there's a part of me, and I think you would agree with me on this one. There's a part of me that likes the stance by Omar Khan, because for the first time, I kind of felt like Omar Khan might be getting a little bit too desperate for this situation. It was almost embarrassing, where we were currently like watching it happen, just being like, oh, the Steelers just waiting around. It's been 3 weeks. What's going to happen next? They're just waiting for a phone call. Like, all right, I get it, but like, come on, let's not be the guy that's just sitting here all the time waiting for something to happen. At the other side of that, it's so close that I think you got to get it done. And I think the best way to go about this is to get it done. It changes the entire landscape of this entire situation. If the Steelers offer was not nearly as good as we thought it was, then we are sitting here currently going, wow, that's maybe the 49ers offer is way weaker than that. Maybe the 49ers have up their offer. Like, it changes the entire landscape. Questions we won't have answers to for the time being. But for right now, wild where we sit here with Brandon Aiyuk. More updates as they come, and things are constantly changing. Who would have thought, man? Who would have thought we're 3 weeks into the Brandon Aiyuk chase, the recent Brandon Aiyuk chase, and not a thing has happened. It's a long time. And the other latest update is, I don't know if you've seen this one, but Adam Schefter says that next week things could heat up again for Brandon Aiyuk, which essentially just means that we're just going to get more headlines with nothing behind them. And it's going to be a good time. It's going to be a good time. Lots to talk about.
Well, next week is also when the 53-man rosters are due. So yeah, obviously it's going to heat up, because at that point you're at the end of the preseason and you're getting ready for the regular season. So they have to make a decision at that point, especially if they want them there week 1. So yes, Adam, it makes sense. Thank you very much.
Makes a lot of sense. All right. With that said, that's my agenda for today. I know we got plenty of questions. Toss yours in here. If you got more of them, we'll answer all of them as we do every single day before we head out of here. What do we got?
Let's go to Marlins first. He says, could we be setting up the quarterbacks for failure? We're asking them for no turnovers, which could take away from both guys being who they actually are, which is playmakers. You won't win a Super Bowl with average quarterback play.
I agree that you I don't know about that one. I mean, I understand it, but I don't know about that one. I mean, let's just name some examples of average quarterback play who have won the Super Bowl. Okay. Who was Baltimore's quarterback back in like 2002? The guy that nobody remembers, but he was on ESPN for a while.
Oh, yeah, that one's going to be tough for me.
Yeah, but exactly. But he was pretty average. I'll toss it out there right now. Eli Manning, pretty average. So I think that you could win a Super Bowl with average quarterback play against Patrick Mahomes. Might be a little bit more difficult. That being said, I don't think that you're setting up the Steelers quarterbacks for failure the way that you're going about things, and the fact that they aren't adding playmakers. I don't believe it's the smartest way to go about it, and I wish that this quarterback competition had a little bit more juice to it, because it kind of sets up Justin Fields for failure if he does surpass Russell Wilson. But the Steelers didn't ever want this to become a thing and to end up where it is in all facets, in the playmakers facet, in the Russell Wilson versus Justin Fields aspect of it. They didn't want any of this to happen. It just kind of turned out to where it is. I don't think they're setting them up for failure, but I don't think Mike Tomlin really knows how to go about all this that well.
Let's go over to Jared's question next. He says, is your percentage of getting Brandon Aiyuk the same? It was 70% before.
I want to say yes. I want to say yes. If I had to guess, the Steelers still end up with Brandon Aiyuk, but I don't know. Like it's so hard to guess this, just because simply it has gone so quiet, and that's the hardest to judge. You could judge the noise. You could judge the nonsense noise. You could judge the real noise. You could judge the noise I'm hearing. You could judge all of it. The hardest thing to judge is dead silence, because we are sitting here going, I have no idea what's happening. And I'll call people and check on this, but at the same time, you're focusing on Russell Wilson. You're focusing on Broderick Jones in the preseason game. So there's a million avenues that we're also focused on, that sources are also focused on. So it's quiet right now, and it's weird. So it's hard to judge, but I would still say I'm optimistic he ends up in Pittsburgh.
Let's go over to Vibin with the Dogs, who says, it sounds like Russ isn't 100%. And if that's true, why risk it with a soon to be 36-year-old in preseason?
Because I mean, everybody's got to get some reps. Because you have to have an actual real quarterback competition. If this was Russ's team and the Steelers owed it to him not to play in the preseason, you don't play in the preseason. But this isn't Russell's team, and it shouldn't be viewed as Russell's team, and therefore you have to play him in the preseason. If your backup quarterback was Kenny Pickett, you don't play Russ in the preseason. If your backup quarterback was Mitch Trubisky or Mason Rudolph or Kyle Allen, you don't play him in the preseason. But Justin Fields is here, and the Steelers believe that they might have something in Justin Fields, and therefore you have to see if Russ is capable to still be the guy that you want him to be, and therefore you have to play him in the preseason.
Let's go over to Suki Knows Best, who says, I don't listen to ESPN, but I do occasionally see clips. Seems like they're leaning towards Justin to start week 1. Their question is, do you believe the next game decides who ends up being QB1 to start?
I would not take literally anything that anybody on ESPN says, anybody who is not Brooke Pryor, because she's in the building, and run with it. I would not take any of it because they have, when I tell you zero idea, I mean zero idea. They could have reasons as to why they believe Justin Fields should start, but they don't believe that Justin Fields or they have no idea if Justin Fields is actually going to start. If I had to guess, Russ starts in week 1. And it's remained the same. We have been very consistent that this is not a real quarterback competition, even if we believe it should be one. But the Steelers want it to be Russ, and chances are it's going to be.
Let's go to Steven Cornfield, who says, should both Russ and Fields be now on equal pole position and actually have a real quarterback competition in the next week?
Yes. Yes. Like, I don't even know what else to say besides yes. We dove into this so heavily yesterday and the day before that. It should be Justin Fields and Russ even competing drive for drive, make it happen. I don't want to see Kyle Allen or John Rice Plumlee on the field at all for the next week. That's what I want. Like, and then during Detroit, play your starters for the first half, 1 quarter Russ, 1 quarter Justin, see who comes out at top. That's how I would go about it. I don't know if that's going to be the case.
Let's go over to Dalton's question. He says, do you believe they'll roll with some in-house options for backup center like McCollum or Spencer Anderson, or do you believe they'll sign a veteran like McGovern or ex-Steeler Mason Cole on a vet minimum?
I think that they could look at a guy like Mason Cole on a vet minimum and bring him back, but I believe that their first option will be Spencer Anderson. Ryan McCollum, I don't believe is a real candidate. They'll test him out, but I don't think he'll earn the job. Spencer Anderson could. That'll be their first option, and then they'll see if they have a roster spot open. That's when they might make a phone call to a guy like Mason Cole.
Steven has another question here. He says, do we think our offensive line was really responsible for the sack-heavy day on Saturday, or does Russ and Fields, who were the top 2 sack quarterbacks, bring some bad luck to the offensive line?
Nope. Go back and watch the tape. I mean, it's that simple. It has literally, like, go back and watch the tape. Broderick Jones was garbage in that game. And I think Broderick's phenomenal. Like, I have no worries about this guy being a superstar left tackle in the NFL or right tackle. I think he could do both, but he was really bad. James Daniels was really bad. Isaac Seumalo didn't look good. Like, the offensive line was bad in that game. And that's where it starts. I don't think that any of them were, in this one at least, Justin or Russ, when it came to the sacks.
Let's go to Christian, who says, do you think Pittsburgh has a number 1 pass rush with or without J.J. Watt? I think we already do, but would love to see J.J. and T.J. put nightmares into quarterbacks.
Yeah, I would love to see it too. I'm all in on the J.J. Watt come to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like I'm all in on it. I think it would be great. I think the Steelers still have the number 1 pass rush in the NFL, though. Cam Hayward, T.J. Watt, Alex Highsmith, Nick Herbig. You got Patrick Queen coming up the middle. That's a lot of speed, a lot of power. You could make that work. On top of Keanu Benton and Montravius Adams and DeMarvin Leal stepping up, they just got too many weapons.
Let's go to another question from Dalton, who says, staying on the offensive side of things, with our man Jalen getting hurt, do you see the Steelers staying in-house at backup running back spots, or do you think they'll sign a free agent like Kareem Hunt?
I believe that they'll stay in-house. Cordero Patterson will be the next man up, but Jonathan Ward, LaMichael Pirine, they've looked good this summer, and I think the Steelers would stick with one of those guys before they reached out elsewhere. But I also think Jalen was there at practice today. He wasn't practicing, but he's going to take some steps forward. I think he could be back by week 1.
Let's go over to the next question, which is, do you think Tomlin is locked into Russ no matter what Russ does or doesn't do? And how long would it take for Justin to take QB1 if Russ is the starter in week 1?
Yeah, I do believe that Mike Tomlin is pretty locked into Russell Wilson. We've made that, that's what the whole this isn't a real quarterback competition that's come down to is Mike Tomlin really truly believes Russ is the guy, and he's going to stick to his guns there. How long would it take? It'd take at least half the season, and Russ would have to look really bad, like really, really, really bad for Justin Fields to take over as the starter.
Let's go over to another question from Steven, who says, after last week, is our wide receiver position still really the biggest issue?
Yeah, hands down. I mean, the offensive line you could fix, but you're not going to find guys more talented than Broderick Jones, James Daniels, Isaac Seumalo, Zach Frazier. The guys are there. You have the pieces. You've built this offensive line. All of those guys are starters in the National Football League. Almost every single team in the National Football League. So it is wide receiver. Backup corner would be another one, but yeah, definitely still wide receiver. The O-line thing is fix the O-line. It's not add pieces. That's not what this is. You struggle in the preseason, you go and you fix the technical stuff. That's what this is about. It's about evaluation so that you can grow individually, not so you can go out and get guys.
Let's go over to Daddy-O's, who says, what does Fields have to do to earn that QB1 spot?
He's got to really ball out, man. He's got to really ball out in these next 2 weeks. I don't know if it could happen. I don't know if he could earn the starting job, but he'd have to be so perfect that it is just indisputable he is the guy. And I just don't think that's capable of happening.
Let's go over to the next question, which is, do you think the Steelers could get Jahan Dotson off the Washington Commanders?
Yeah, I do. I saw a tweet the other day that was like, at this point, the Commanders might not even keep Jahan Dotson on their 53-man roster. Go get him. Go get him. Dude's a stud. He's got a ton of potential. He's got some growth and he's got some issues, and you're taking a risk, no doubt. But that's as good of a risk as it comes right now at the wide receiver market for somebody who's on a rookie deal, who's cheap, and you're not going to have to give up a ton for. I'm all about. I think his potential is unreal. Jahan Dotson has the ability to play outside and inside. I'm all about him.
Let's go over to Broderick Wallace, who wants to know, how's Peyton Wilson doing? Was there any news on him being in concussion protocol today at the building?
No, there wasn't. I don't know what goes on there. It's the preseason, so they don't have to disclose injuries. So maybe they don't have to disclose concussions. But I would not expect him to be in the game on Saturday.
Let's go to Jared Brooks, who says, looking beyond this season, do you think Justin Fields will be a quarterback of the future for the Steelers?
I don't know. Right now, it's too early to tell. It's just too early to know what's going on next season. If I had to give you my best guess, the Steelers starting quarterback in 2025 is a rookie. That would be my best guess. But it's possible. It could happen. I just don't know if it's going to, and right now it's too early to tell.
Daddy-O's wants to go the other direction with the quarterback conversation in the future. Says, even if Russ plays good, do you think he has a future in Pittsburgh?
Yeah. I think if Russ plays well, it comes down to Russ. If Russ proves, hey, I'm the dude, I can win a Super Bowl in Pittsburgh, is he going to take a team-friendly deal next season to stay in Pittsburgh? Because if he is, they're going to keep him, and they're going to want to keep him. That's the difference between him and Justin. Justin balls out and looks so good, he might price himself out of Pittsburgh because he's young and he wants a check, and he should want a check. Go get that bag, man. You're a quarterback. You're in your prime. Go get the money. Russ could take a team-friendly deal, try to build his legacy, and I think that's a real possibility.
Let's go to Marlon's question next, which is, will the weeks coming up after the preseason be the perfect time to not separate the true starting offensive line?
It is it is the perfect time not to separate the truth. Yeah, I agree with you. Like, I think right now is the time where you start your guys one final game and see what happens and try to work out the technical stuff. I mean, that's how I look at it. If you're not going to shut down Broderick Jones, you get your guys out there and you let them rock. But that being said, Troy Fautanu was injured. So if until he's healthy and back on the field, that's your starting line, the guys who were out there. So I think the answer to that is yes, but we've also already seen it.
Let's go down to Strict Fit. Appreciate you as always. Says, I'm a Buckeye and I know Justin can and will get the job done. You should start him. So a little bit of a vote of confidence from Ohio State fan Strict Fit.
Yeah, I mean, the Steelers loved Justin Fields coming out of college. Loved him. He was their favorite player in the draft. So he obviously wasn't going to get to their draft pick, but they loved him. So they see the upside in him. And I think that he's taken steps forward to say that that upside could be there.
Let's go to Luke Cage, who says, if this is a big if JJ were to sign with the Steelers, do you think he'd fit the scheme?
Yes. Look, J.J. Watt could fit any scheme. It obviously isn't the scheme that he's played his entire career, but it's 1 year, stick him on the outside, stick him on the inside, stick him at nose tackle. I don't care. He can learn it. He's smart enough to learn it. He's good enough to be versatile across the line. Yes, I'd put him at outside linebacker. I'd say you are only rushing the passer. You are never dropping into coverage. Go make things happen. But to be honest, he's dropped into coverage and he's intercepted balls. So I think it could happen. I think he could fit the scheme. It's not the scheme he's played his whole career, but I think he can make it happen.
Let's go back to Suki Knows Best, who says, I didn't watch the tape, but is it just me or do the wide receivers seem to be having a hard time getting open?
Yes, definitely. Scotty Miller had the best performance of any wide receiver on Saturday. If you go back and watch, Des Fitzpatrick is probably number 2, but these guys couldn't separate. It was a real come down to earth moment for Van Jefferson. You're looking for a better performance against Detroit if they play their starters, but I think it was another sign of go get a wide receiver. I don't care who it is, go get one because you don't have your guys.
The last one we have as of right now from Alexander says, we're not winning a Super Bowl next year with a rookie quarterback. If so, do you think Minkah or TJ requests a trade out of Pittsburgh?
No chance, dude. TJ Watt wants to retire in Pittsburgh. Minkah Fitzpatrick wants to do the same. They are Pittsburgh Steelers. They love it here. They love this defense. They love Mike Tomlin. They aren't going anywhere. Neither of them, like TJ Watt doesn't walk in and slam his hand down on Art Rooney's desk 2-3 years ago and say, hey, I want a new contract. I'm signing this deal. This is it. We're good. Takes less money than he probably could have got in the open market with Matt Canada and Kenny Pickett as his quarterbacks for no reason. Like they're staying in Pittsburgh. They never go anywhere.
We did get another one here from Tyler Lawrence that I wanted to address, saying, so if we were okay starting Dan at left tackle this year to let Troy develop, how much better would the Steelers look if they would have drafted Graham Barton and A.D. Mitchell instead of Troy Fautanu and Zach Frazier?
I mean, I think they'd look worse. I don't know. Zach Frazier, in my opinion, was the best center in the NFL draft. He's the most pro-ready center in the NFL draft. Graham Barton looks good, but he's also possibly going to play guard. So, and I mean, A.D. Mitchell is a stud. Don't get me wrong, but I think Troy Fautanu is a stud too. Like I don't know. Like if you're looking for like instant relief, this is going to happen right now. Okay. But I mean, some of the best draft picks, some of the best players in the NFL take a year before they get into that role. And just because they might not help win the Super Bowl right now doesn't mean that they're not going to help win the next one. And I think that's equally as important.
Let's go to Sir Maud, who says, isn't it alarming that even with 2 fumbles, Justin moved the ball better than Russell Wilson did with the ones? Sorry, but I feel like Russ is cooked.
I mean, I think everybody has an opinion on Russell Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
Russ didn't look great against the Bills, obviously, but he also had 0 time to get the ball out. Like the offensive line got cooked. You want to talk about who's cooked? The Steelers' offensive line is cooked right now. So you got to fix that, and then you see what's going on. I don't know. I have a hard time judging Russ's performance against Buffalo because of how bad the Steelers' offensive line looked. And there were moments where he threw good pass. I'm not defending Russ. I'm not saying Russ is the guy. I think I'm leaning more Justin than Russ currently, but I also don't think Russ is cooked. And I think that the offensive line was the reason Russ looked that bad.
Let's go to Brian's question next. He says, if CD instead of Aiyuk, how do you justify that payroll with George Pickens, not to mention signing a quarterback?
You're not going to sign a quarterback. Like, that's the thing in Pittsburgh. You're not signing a quarterback to a massive contract. I think everybody's got to get that out of their head. It's not going to happen. Like, you're not, like, there's no space to do it. You're not going to do it no matter what. You're not going to sign Russ to a massive deal. You're not going to sign Justin to a massive deal. If you sign Justin Fields, you will sign him to a team-friendly, very cheap 2-year deal. The back half of that will be backloaded so that the second year you're making much more money than the first year. Then you're going to sign him to a massive deal if he works out next season. But you're not inking anybody to a massive deal in 2025. When it comes to CD over Aiyuk and with the payroll for George Pickens, according to Jerry Dulac, they're still going to pay him. I don't know how that works out, but the Steelers want that to happen. You could always make that happen. And without a quarterback contract, you could do whatever you want in the NFL. But that's their plan, is to figure that out. And I think right now where we currently sit, that does work until there's a quarterback. If you draft a quarterback, which will happen, I believe, at some point, you're good. You could sign JP. You could sign Brandon Aiyuk. You could sign TJ Watt, Minka Fitzpatrick. You can make it all happen with ease.
Let's finish it off with Alexander's question, which is, even if they do draft a rookie quarterback, wouldn't it be better to keep either Justin or Russ for another year? Because throwing rookies out there is not it.
I mean, it kind of just depends. And I don't know if I agree with that one. Like, I think if you could get a good rookie quarterback and toss them out there, I mean, CJ Stroud, yeah, this year it'll hopefully be Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels and potentially Bo Nix. Like, guys work out well. Not everybody does, but I mean, I'm all about letting guys rest, but it'd be really hard to draft a quarterback in the first round, bring back Russell Wilson if he doesn't do incredibly well this season, and have the fan base okay with that decision. You know, like, people aren't okay with Dan Moore in the starting offensive line. They're not going to be okay with Russell Wilson as the starting quarterback while a first-round rookie is sitting behind him. So it'll be tough. But I think it still come down to money, because they're not going to pay either one of these quarterbacks, I'd say, more than $10 million next year.
That's a wrap for today, then.
Awesome. With that said, guys, we are heading out of here. Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Check us out anywhere you get your podcasts. And as always, please find all of our work at si.com/NFL/Steelers. I head back to the South Side tomorrow. Was there today, head back tomorrow. Maybe J.J. Watt's in uniform. We'll find that out tomorrow. With that said, enjoy another beautiful day in the Berg. Peace.